welcome to the Let's Talk with Paula show, where we talk about hot topics, amazing things, and we try to keep you as informed the best that we know how, okay? We also tell you to look up stuff if we ain't right, okay? Yeah, always look up stuff. So, because I get it from the news, okay? Yeah, so I'm saying that if it's something that I got from the news, I'll let you know. But I always say that, you know, unless you got an expert here that knows the facts, then we take it as fact and law and rule, okay? So my good friend and my co-host, you might as well say for almost through COVID, okay, is drum roll.
Good evening, Donald Bell, and I am happy to be here on Let's Talk with Paula. And I'm happy to be here with Paula. I'm happy to be here with your audience. Again, my name is Donald Bell. I'm an attorney here in Maryland. I'm located here in Prince George's County. I'm happy to be here in Prince George's County, serving, you know, the population, the good folks of Prince George's County.
And you do mostly like foreclosures and bankruptcies, and you do a little bit of everything, because people come to you for everything. I mean, I wear the hell out you, okay? But I'm just saying, if people have a problem with right now, that we were worried about the veterans for a minute, with the foreclosures, and they kind of put a stop to it for a minute.
I consider myself to be a consumer advocate. So where I primarily try to advocate really has to do with you know, consumer issues related to like foreclosure defense. You know, I really try to help people get out of debt and bankruptcy. And another area that we really look at are student loans. You know, helping people deal with the student loans, because student loans has become one of the largest areas of debt in this country. Particularly here in this area, because you have like you have a lot of educated people who work for the federal government, who work for government contractors. There's a large amount of student loan debt. And you know, there are a lot of seniors who have student loan debt because they sign those Parent Plus loans and things of that nature.
So on their own.
So that, and their own.
And their own.
So you know, so really, you know, I really try to focus on really consumer advocacy type issues. But you know, we talk about, you know, generational wealth and wealth building and things of that nature. So I think, you know, owning your home is the primary way that most people, you know, build wealth in this country. So we really try to put a lot of emphasis on helping people stay in their homes and save their homes, so they can pass their home on from generation to generation. So we use tools like, you know, like the loan modifications, you know, the homeowners assistance fund, foreclosure mediation, you know, and we use bankruptcy to help people, you know, save their homes from foreclosure. So, but yeah, those are the areas that I focus on.
And I think that where everybody got thrown for a loop was that Congress stopped Biden.
Okay.
I'm on medicine because I got pneumonia, you guys. Excuse me. I'm calling the President Biden, right? Biden.
Yes.
Was trying to get us that money, you know, give us some money back to put towards the loans, and they put a stop to it.
Yeah. So President Biden came out with some rules to allow people to discharge up to $20,000 of student loans. Now, and he only had authority to allow people to discharge or wipe out government student loans, not private student loans. And it wasn't, and Congress was trying to sort of stop him, but the Supreme Court actually came in and said, hey, and I'm sort of paraphrasing what happened here, but hey, you know, the president doesn't have the authority to, you know, make these rules to discharge these student loans. Only Congress has the authority to make laws. The president just has the authority to enforce laws. And basically, Congress hasn't made that law. So President Biden, you can't do this. So that's sort of like what happened, because that was one of his core campaign promises. Like, hey, you know, I want to help people discharge these student loans. And he actually came through it. He actually came out with rules to do that. But the Supreme Court basically came down and said, hey, you don't have that authority. Now, coincidentally, in bankruptcy, President Biden had the Justice Department and the Department of Education actually come out with new guidelines on how student loans, and these are government student loans, how they actually treated in bankruptcy. Because prior to 2022, the only way that you could get student loans discharged in bankruptcy, you had to prove that there was an undue hardship. And the only way that you could do that was you had to sue the government in the bankruptcy case. So you had to file a lawsuit against the government.
Wow.
And you had to prove that the student loans created an undue hardship. And basically, undue hardship basically meant was, what that meant was you were too old, too sick, basically you were almost on your deathbed, and there was no way you could pay these student loans back. So very few people got relief in bankruptcy from student loans. Well, President Biden and his administration came out with new guidelines, and so now they redefine what an undue hardship is. So now there are people who are actually going through bankruptcy now and actually getting discharges of student loans in bankruptcy, but that has to do with, again, the government student loans, not the private student loans.
So when you say that's like a Freddie Mac loan, is Freddie Mac under government?
Well, Freddie Mac has to do with mortgages.
Oh, not Freddie Mac.
So
which one is it that I'm thinking about? It's Sally Mae's mortgages.
Well, Sally Mae actually is a servicer that was servicing a lot of government loans.
Okay.
So basically, when you go to college, and I think you were a financial aid person at a college at one point in time. I think you told me that.
Yeah, I was.
So when you go in and then you apply for the student loans, you can get subsidized, unsubsidized. So you get these federal loans. Now some schools are so expensive, because the federal government only allows you to borrow up to a certain amount of government sponsored loans. Some people have to get private loans as well. They got to have good credit, or a family member has to co-sign, and they get these private loans. Okay, so those are outside the scope of what can
be written off,
what can be discharged. Only those government loans. So it's a game changer. It's not something that a lot of people know a lot about, and the unfortunate part, in order to get that type of relief, you actually have to file the bankruptcy case, and you have to meet the new definitions of what is an undue hardship. But those guidelines are so much more broader, and includes so many more people that it is sort of like one of those promising things. And I think that's one reason why it's so important for people to get out and vote. Okay, because this came under the Biden administration, not the Trump administration, and we have a big election coming up next year, and if a new administration comes in, those guidelines may go away. So that relief may go away.
Like they did with Obama, with some of the relief packages that he had, they did away with them.
Every president that comes in, they're elected by the American people, and they have an opportunity to come in and they get to set their priorities. And if the new president's priorities are different from the old president's priorities, then certain programs are going to go away. He's going to bring in certain programs that benefit his constituents, and he's going to remove the ones that he believes that doesn't. So that's why it's so important to get out
and vote and
figure out who you want to vote for and vote.
Right. And I think they're really making it kind of hard, because both of the candidates are old.
Yes.
Both of the candidates have some of the same, they talk about each other, but they have some of the same problems that the other one is having, you know what I mean? And talking about dialogue and speaking and falling or whatever the case may be. And, I mean, they've caught both of them with some of those same things. And what makes it bad is that, we got a female Republican that's running, okay? But she's
that would be
almost
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, but she's almost speaking some of the same not I'm just saying, speaking some of the same language as her counterpart is speaking. You know, she wants to be the president for life. You know, well, he started that foolishness right when he was in office before, and so some of the things that I've heard her say are, and I guess that's why. Because her numbers are not, they say they're low, but they're not that low, okay, when you look at the disparity between the two, okay? But she's spewing out some of the same things, maybe not exactly the same things that he's talking about, but she's saying some of the same things that they're saying that they know that's going to get votes. Okay, that's the way I look at it. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. Okay, this is what he's saying. Okay, I'm going to twist it, but I'm going to say it, right? But then what was so amazing is that Biden won New Hampshire, and he wasn't even on it. He was a write-in, and he won that election over all those people that were actually on the ballot, you know.
Yeah, I think that had to do with the Democratic National Committee and the National Convention. So New Hampshire moved their primary up. And the first primary, I believe, traditionally has been, I don't know if it was South Carolina or it was somewhere else, but New Hampshire wanted theirs to be first. And because New Hampshire moved theirs up, that created a situation where they were in conflict with the Democratic National Convention.
Right.
And so that was the reason why I don't think President Biden registered, because they were in conflict with the Democratic National Convention, and that's where most of his constituents and his money go come from. And
he won.
People in New Hampshire still, I guess, they're write-ins.
Right.
And New Hampshire's such a small state.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's a lot of votes that are coming out of New Hampshire.
Well, Stephen Colbert had a joke about one of the places that Haley had won, which only had 5 people.
Okay.
And she won it by a landslide because
you know what? I read that in the newspaper. Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Colbert had it on his show at nighttime.
It's like five residents.
And the 5 residents, all of them voted for her. You know, so she did that by a landslide. You know, he made that a big joke. You know, but every little bit helps. Yeah. You know.
But you know, Nikki Haley is a fairly unique candidate, particularly because she's running in the Republican Party, and she is a former governor of South Carolina, and she is of Indian descent. But with the name and, you know, with some of the rhetoric, you wouldn't know that.
You sure wouldn't.
But, you know, she comes from this very conservative state. And, you know, and you just, I mean, I grew up in the South, so you just wouldn't expect for, you know, someone
with that heritage
to have won the governorship in South Carolina. And you know, I'm proud of the fact that, you know, we have a country where someone, you know, people of different, you know, ethnicities and things of that nature can come.
And gender.
And you know, she was born here, of course, but you know, she's running for president. So I think, you know, she has a fairly unique story. And you know, it's interesting that she's running in the Republican, you know, in a Republican primary that you know, that's really conservative. And you know, so I'm interested in what she has to say, because I don't know much about her.
I don't either. And so I listened to what she has to say, but then I also listened to the rhetoric that I hear over here, and some of it, like I'm saying, if you listen to it, some of it, it's just a twist in it, but some of the rhetoric is the same, you know.
I think it's just very
It's just the way, it's presentation, it's the way the presentation is being brought to you on how you can get really confused about how much difference are these people, you know.
I think it's very important that no matter who you agree with, that you take time to listen to both, to everyone.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Because
that's what I do.
You know, I just think, I mean, even if you don't agree with them.
That's right.
Even if some of the rhetoric is, you know, at some time, you know, you strongly disagree with, I just think it's very important that you sit down and you listen. Because, you know, one of the things that happens is, in this country, is if you don't agree with somebody, it's like, hey, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
But you got to listen, because you gotta know and understand where people are coming from, because now you can understand, and if you're going to be on the other side, you gotta be able to understand like where they're coming from, so you'll know how to attack them.
And so like I said, so that's why I listen, okay? And then I hit this thing that came on the weather report the other night. They have little things that come on that the emergency weather report, and they tell you about food that had listeria, and cough syrup, which was Robitussin, that honey that they had to pull off the market because they had listeria and a lot of other stuff. Well, one of the little clips on there had shadow candidate, right? They had Obama's picture on it, right? I pushed it just to listen to see what was going on, and it was a gentleman that was from the Freedom Party. Okay. And his prediction is this: after he talked about everybody, I listened through the whole thing, because like you said, you got to listen because you need to know what's going on out there, and I want to see who this shadow candidate is, right? And so he talks about everybody. But then when he finally reveals who the big reveal is for the shadow candidate it's the governor of California. He says that what's going to happen is that the people are not, the Democratic committee is not going to support President Biden, and he's going to be the forerunner in the race at that point. And they're going to nominate him. So he is the shadow candidate that he says that is running in the background, because he's doing all these interviews and doing all these things. Now, I don't know how true this is, because I don't know enough about this guy, but I said that, I pushed it just because I was waiting for him to see who this shadow candidate was. So he said, so on December the 19th, that, the Democratic Party is going to be in for a surprise in the United States, because they're going to think that the people are going to support Biden, but they're going to support, what's his name, Newsom? The governor of California. Yeah. He said that he's going to be the one that's going to be the front runner in that Democratic race. That's why I mentioned that to say this, because we always say, look up the information for yourself and look and see what those people, everybody that's running anywhere, I don't care if they're running for dog catcher, you need to find out how did they go about making sure that the animals were safe. You know what I mean? Because we see so many animals out here that are from the commercials that, just out there and people just treat them wrong. So I'm saying, so you have to be careful about who you vote for. I don't care what position that it is. It's important. And what does they do? And we've always advocated, don't listen to what we say. To go out there and read for yourself, for each candidate. I don't care whether it's your congressman, whether it's the person that's running in the Senate. Like I said, your sheriff, because we found out from talking to you that the sheriff is most powerful, okay? Because I never knew that.
Yeah, the sheriff is probably one of the most powerfully elected officers or individuals in the state. Number one, the sheriff has the authority and his officers have authority of life and death. They got the power of the state to take your liberty by arresting you, and they also have the power of the state to use deadly force. Yeah. And they also have the authority to take your property if they have a valid court order. They have to enforce and seize property as well and sell it to pay your creditors. Yeah. So for that reason, traditionally, I believe the office of sheriff is probably one of the most powerful positions, particularly on a state, on a county-wide level. And see, so it's important who's in that position. Right. And so it's important that you look up and see what their record is. I'm just saying. Same thing with the dog catching in your neighborhood. How many dogs do you have in your neighborhood? I'm a dog lover, okay? How many people in your neighborhood you got that's running around half dead in the backyard? Nobody, even the owner's not making sure that they're safe. Yeah. They're people, they're just a different kind of species. And so it's important that you really look these people up, and we've been saying this for years. Okay, we've been advocating you before the election. You don't wait until the night of the election, or you don't wait until you start getting these flyers in your mailbox. You need to go out there and look on the website on who is who in your county or in your state.
okay? And you need to start looking them up now, because there's quite a few people out there that are running these in these races, and if you don't look them up, you're going to be confused, and you're going to start to listen to every commercial or every comedian, you know, or different things, like I said, that came through on that news feed to make you push that button. You understand what I'm saying? It's totally different than what I was looking for, right? And so you have to be careful, because once we all know that everything that you see on the internet not true. Let me say that, okay? So you have to look it up for yourself. There's some things on there that, yeah, but you still need to verify them. I mean, even from the standpoint of view of what type of medicines that you're taking in your home, right? We were just talking about that before I came on, because, you know, they advertise all these supplemental medicines, right? But if you're taking regular medicine that doctors has prescribed for you, you don't know whether or not it's going to be a conflict in the two. And that's what I was having that battle with. I was having that battle with the supplements that I was taking, along with the medicine that the doctor had given to me, until the doctor told me, look, back up.
Yeah, I would always recommend that whenever you go and your doctor's going to give you a prescription, that you tell the doctor about every supplement that you're taking. Because a lot of most supplements in this country aren't regulated by the federal government. It's not regulated the way like those prescriptions and Tylenol and Motrin and things. I mean, when you buy Tylenol at the store or Motrin at the store, you know what you're getting. Okay, but a lot of times those supplements, it may say that it has this stuff on it, and what the dosage is, but you don't know if that's accurate or not. So you got to be very, very careful about taking that when you're taking prescriptions. So.
And you need to read the bottles too, because
yes.
Like Pedialyte, okay, you know, it's strongly recommended when you got flu and you don't want to get dehydrated, for you to take it because of the electrolytes and things like that. Okay, so I read on the bottle the other day that it had something in it that I should not be taking.
Okay.
Okay, so Pedialyte, if I had not, and my son you and my son, he would go in and take stuff out the refrigerator in the cabinets and take all the expired stuff and throw it in the trash. You know, he don't even ask me; he just cleans it out. Okay, what you supposed to do? Okay.
Yeah.
So when I got sick, you know, then that's when he started looking at the cough syrup and, you know, all that other stuff that I was taking, and me being Dr. Quack, he started throwing stuff away. And he said, look, are you supposed to be taking this? You know, and I said, well, I asked the doctor when I go see. I made an appointment. I asked him when I go see. And sure enough, it was some of the stuff, just like you said to me. You don't take that supplement. It interferes with the. So I had made up my mind, and I told my doctor this, that whenever I get a supplement and I got a prescription, I'm going to ask the pharmacist, because he knows everything that I take. I'm going to ask him, is it okay for me to take this supplement? You know, I did that today, okay? And come to find out that some of the supplements that I was taking, based on the medicine that I'm prescribed, I should not have been taking, okay? So we have to really be careful about things that we see on television that's advertised and tell you, oh, this is good for you and it's not good for you, you know what I mean? Because everybody's body's different. Everybody's on different medicines. But, you know, when COVID first came out, they had like 5 different supplements that they said everybody should be taking, you know. And I probably think that maybe out of the 5, 3 are the only that I can use, you know, as a supplement. And that's only if my doctor prescribes it for me. But I think that the pharmacist and your doctor, because they do keep track of all the medicines you're taking. But if you don't tell your doctor or the pharmacist of these supplements that you're taking, I tell my doctor, I have everything that I need, and sometimes it's in my phone. I send it to my son. Every time I take something, I put what time I took it, what it was, what the dosage is, okay?
Well, I think a lot of people have been seriously ill, you know, become seriously ill, have even died, because not because the supplement in and of itself was harmful, or not because the prescription or the medication was, but when you combine those two.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
And the only time they figure that out is when they're doing the autopsy and doing the toxicology report.
That's right.
You know, this person had X and Y, and that interacted with this prescription.
Right.
And, you know, it shut their organs down.
Yep.
So I think, you know, what you're telling your audience is very, very true.
Yep.
You've got to communicate with your doctor. Say, look, I'm taking X, Y, and Z, and you just gave me this. Is it okay to take them together?
And if that's the case, you can verify it again with the pharmacist.
With the pharmacist. Yes.
Okay, I would verify. I verify it again with the pharmacist. I mean, I know my doctor sent this over here, but could you tell me whether or not it's okay for me to take it with this?
Yes.
And like I said, I tell my son, I send him when I eat, because I'm one of those people who are compromised, diabetic, and heart problems. So I tell him what I eat, when I eat, medicines that I've taken, what time I took them. You understand what I'm saying? All during the day. So if anything happens to me, all he has to do is go on my phone. When the doctor started asking questions and I can't talk, because I've been there before, okay, then he can at least say, I know that she had this, and she was so happy that years ago, she was so happy that we were doing that, you know what I mean? She said, and how I learned that is because I used to work in a doctor's office as well. I was an office manager, medical assistant. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, okay? But we were working in the cardiologist's office, it was a lot of older people. And when you ask them what medicines are they taking, a lot of times they don't know. They don't remember. And so I used to tell them to write it down. Write down every time you get a new prescription, write down what the medicine is, what the dosage is, and how often you take it. And then when you come to the doctor, if you got any problems you've been having, write it on the same piece of paper. So when you go to the doctor's office, you can tell them everything that's been going on in case you forget.
But oftentimes with doctors, doctors are like investigators. A lot of times they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you so they can prescribe something or some course of action so you can get better. But a lot of it has to do with what you're taking, what medication, what supplements, what you ate, stress.
Even what you drink. Stress, anxiety, mental, all of that stuff.
So they gotta, so you gotta be able to tell them all that kind of stuff. So
that's why I used to tell the older people to write it down on a piece of paper. And when their children went, I said, please make sure next time she comes in, all she gotta do is this. Show the doctor what was going on, because she was keeping track. So me in my old age, I just put it in my phone, okay.
Oh, you can take pictures of the prescriptions too.
Oh yeah, I've done that too.
Take pictures of them.
I've done that too.
Yeah. So you can show them, like, look, you show them on it says 1025.
That's right.
Of this medicine right here. So,
and then I didn't even think that Pedialyte had zinc in it. Okay, but I think it's one of the things that they have in it. Now that's one of the things I can't take.
Wow.
Okay, but I've learned how to read.
Yeah.
Okay, since I've been sick this last time, I will read. Okay.
Well, we hope you get better.
Yeah, I am. I'm on a mend, and thank God for you. And we want the information that was provided tonight. And please, we got an election coming up. Please look up everybody before the end of December, before November, please. And with that, we want to say thank you very much again, and we want to say good night.
Good night.
From the Let's Talk with Paula show.
Ah!